Let me know when we're recording. Okay. So let's start off the agenda with the Pledge of Allegiance. Melanie, would you like to lead us? I remember when we used to do it.
Yeah, I do too. I was just wondering what the significance is this time.
Have to get used to it again.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. So we may need to have a quick discussion on what I'm about to tell you. So, and it's not on the agenda. So this is more on the public comment for no agenda items, and or not no agenda items, for non-agenda items. Jeez, this is crazy. So let's is that number one on our agenda today?
Yeah.
Non-agenda.
And then that general public comment, whatever.
Wow, there we go. Okay, so just for you know, welcome everybody. It's what is it?
March 6th.
5:38, March 6th. Raquel Beltran resigned from Dunn
Oh my God.
late last week. So there has been no reason given. And so I say this, that it might be something that we might get people talking about under public comment, unless we decide to put something on the agenda. But I don't think it needs to go on the agenda at this particular point.
Wow.
So yeah, so she has resigned, and Vanessa Serrano is the interim executive director.
Is that good or bad?
What, that Vanessa, or
Yeah,
that she
Vanessa.
resigned? No, I you know, it's I think it's good. Excuse me. It's good as you know, under the circumstances. So so I think we may, moving forward, need to be maybe a little patient when we're addressing things with Dunn, because there's this thing you know, happening, the change in leadership. So just be aware.
So when they replaced Gracie, didn't they seek out public input as to when they were hiring somebody else? I thought they did. I'm trying to remember. Of the type of person we were looking for and stuff that we wanted. And then they ended up hiring Raquel.
There was an interview process with the members of neighborhood councils.
Right.
But it was a small group, you know, interview.
Right.
So yeah, there was. Okay. Anyway, I'll let you all reflect, and if you have any questions to ask me, we can take them offline.
Okay.
All righty. Okay, so let me get my glasses on. Any other general public comment?
Well, we should probably do the official roll call too.
That's true. Can we do the official roll call, please?
Ray Regalado.
Here.
Melanie Larek.
Here.
Chris Valle. And Vic Christensen here. So with 3 present, we have a quorum.
All right. So
now back to public comment.
Back to public comment. We do have an attendee. I'm just seeing if our attendee has a request to speak under non-agenda item, but I don't see a hand up. So we will move on to item number 3, and that is the election update. So we're getting down to a critical time for vote by mail. excuse me, by time we meet, there will be but a few days left for them to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So,
Not a few days, a few hours
For what?
to apply.
Oh, to vote by mail? What do you mean?
What day are we meeting?
March 13th.
Yeah.
Oh, we are meeting on the 13th. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So, I think we need to make sure that there is, you know, on our social media and stuff like that, we should make sure that it's stated, indicated, announced.
It is on the, you know, a similar thing like this is on the board agenda itself.
Got it.
I don't know how much new or reminder type things have been posted on, you know, the social media, but I know they're out there. I just don't know if it's been, you know, bumped up as a reminder or anything.
Right. I'll remind John B, you know, so that maybe he can make announcements and get the information out.
Because I think Chris is the one who does the Facebook and Christina does the rest.
Right. No, but I'm gonna ask John to make sure that it gets communicated so that they can do it. That's
Okay. Yeah.
what I'm saying. Okay. Anything else for 3, 1, and 2? No? Public comment? Mr. Norman, anything? Looking for your hand. I do not see it. So we'll go on to the next one.
Oh, well, maybe one last thing is, as far as I know, the COVID policy has not changed from the 1st of February. So if that is still the case, then there's no, just as a reminder, there's no requirement for proof of vaccination or negative test to vote in person.
Right, right. Good point. Okay, anything else?
It's 5:45.
I hear that.
My computer just told me so. Whoop, we have a hand up.
Okay. Thomas?
Yeah, thanks. This is my first time attending an exec meeting. Was encouraged in case there was anything that came up about Phillips 76, but I don't see that agendized. Didn't hear any discussion, but I also wanted to point out, if we're on 4, as you're going through resignations or changes to committee members, I think Benjamin Norman's waiting to be in the consent. I haven't seen it published in the minutes that he's been appointed to the committees he's expressed interest in. So we'll just bring that to exec's attention. I think, you know, youth and outreach and port, environment and sustainability. So wanted to bring that to exec's attention, if however that process works for the youth person.
Yeah, I had asked him about that and he said he thought it had already been done. And I told him I thought it was kind of a given which ones he would be on, but it still has to be made official starting through the committees.
Right. And so as a committee chair, I know I just need to know who I send that to, you or Ray. I've sent one email and can encourage Chris then to send it to the right person. So we don't go another cycle without it being on the consent agenda. So send that to you, Victor.
Yeah, you can send it to both of us, but I mean, has it gone through the committee and the committee has approved?
Yeah, on youth, I'll have to check. I always have to leave early for that, so I'll have them verify that. But yeah, in one of the 2 cases.
Okay, because it needs to go through committee before it goes to the board.
Okay. Well, thank you for that clarification. We'll make sure I'll do what I can for my committee and then work through it with youth and outreach. Thank you.
Okay.
You got it.
And then, okay, so just for completeness, Thomas, I'm not going to put it on the agenda until I have something confirming that it's gone through committee first.
Got it.
And also, just for your information, at this meeting, even though it's not on the agenda that you see right now, this is one where, like, here we go. Like it says, request accepted during the meeting.
Yeah.
So even though it's not one of these A through M items right now, if there's other things that we think should go on the board agenda, we can still add them at this time.
Okay. In that case, after, when it's my turn, I'll have an item.
Okay.
Melanie?
Yeah, I was gonna tell Thomas that I was gonna, after we go over these already agenda items that are on here already, I was gonna bring up the Phillips 66 thing.
Okay, then I don't need to speak to it. I figured you might from what I've heard, so thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, anything else? All right, let's go ahead and move on. Number 4, I guess, right?
Yes.
A whole host of different things for the agenda. Presentation, hybrid in person, we don't need that at this time.
Well, you don't think so? Because there might be updates on the legislation that's going through various places.
But that's not the hybrid thing. This is, if you're talking about legislation regarding like AB 361 and things like that, that's a little bit different. And the hybrid thing. Well, look, I believe we don't need a presentation on hybrid or in-person meeting update because we're meeting, as far as this month. A reminder could come that come April, we probably will not get an additional thing that is allowing us to continue virtual meetings. This gray area here in March was kind of a vagueness that was read into the 361. So, but I don't think they're going to do it unless I hear something different from Bong through the city attorney. But right now, I do not have anything like that.
So you don't
Melanie?
think,
I'm sorry. Go
you
ahead.
don't think it'd be a good idea for Josh to give an update as we know it at the, week?
It would be a hybrid thing. The EVG thing. That's what he's in charge of, or that's what he's looking at. And that is, EVG is the hybrid version, or that's another way of saying what they're trying to do is EVG. It's a hybrid.
It's just the EVG committee update, basically. EVG, where they're at with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this will either be in person or virtual. There is no hybrid place, anything with hybrid in place or going to be in place between now and the end of the month. And chances are beyond that. So, yeah, we don't need that.
Okay.
Ray?
Yes, ma'am.
So speaking on this, then with us going in person April 1st, or not April 1st, April, whatever it is.
Actually, it would be the 29th of March moving
Right.
forward.
But April
Well-
10th for our board meeting is what I'm saying. So April 10th, when we're at Peck Park, the conversation that you and I had about food. So do you want me to go and look at, say, Subway for single wrap sandwiches and chips?
Sure. Yeah, if you like. That
We'll
would be
just
nice.
do that. I will go and look and for how many people, because there's 17 board members
16.
or 16. How many people for public should I plan on? Do 30 people and that's it? Or 25? Probably 30, considering we don't know. and just do the 30 pack and get sandwiches and chips, and water is going to have to be like bottled, single bottled, because you can't have that water station, is what I was told. So we're going to have to have just a single bottle water. So Lori asked me if I would at least get the cardboard type water, single thing use, or can.
Cardboard?
Yeah, you can get water in the cardboard cartons or in cans. So I'll do that. I'll go get the canned water. And get the little mini sodas too for you, Ray.
Well, thank you. Okay, that's
All
fine.
right.
And remember, just keep in mind that there may be vegetarians
Yeah.
in the crowd, so get a couple of them.
The veggie sandwiches.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
And I don't know, I hate to make it more complicated, but see what the price breakdown for what's that place there on the same shopping area?
Oh, Jersey Mike's, they're really expensive.
Are they?
Yeah, really expensive compared to the deal that Subway can give us.
Okay,
Yeah.
all righty.
Alrighty.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, wait a minute. You know what? This is getting way too dark. Let me turn on the light. Let there be light. There you go. Sorry about it. Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. So Fair Work Week ordinance. Anything on that?
Well, that's the one where we got the email from Andrea, and we told her we couldn't do it in February, so she was going to come back in March.
Okay,
So I can follow up with her and make sure
Okay.
she's still going to.
okay, cool. Minutes, yes. Resignation, Lord Jacob from budget, okay. Approved letter of support to propose Gateway Arch. Okay. Approved letter regarding traffic safety consent. Who's doing the traffic safety one?
That's planning and land use.
Okay,
E and F are both planning and land use.
okay. Approved monthly expenditure report. Who's doing that one? I'm just kidding. Approve budget, okay. Approve allocation of 400 to pay any. Yeah, God, I'm having such a hard. I'm glad you sent me the information, because I'm still going to pursue that. But yeah, we'll put that in.
Like I told Vic and John, we'll just, because it just burns my britches to have to do this, but we're just going to allocate it. It's allocated. This isn't and that's it. It's allocated so we don't spend that little bit of money.
That's
And
fine.
so it's allocated and it's there, but hopefully we don't have to use it.
That's cool. All right. Approve an increase of 93. Will that cover the 93.90 cover everything?
Right. This is a concern of mine, that our newsletter is going up to $5,100 every time we do one.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
But we're only doing 2 a year now?
Year, but still, that's 12. That's 51 and 51. That's $10,200 of our $3,200 budget.
Yeah, I know. We
And
may have
our-
to look at that.
Yep. The grants, we approved all of them, went through each one individually and approved them. And based on a conversation I had with the city clerk, some of them didn't qualify because they just were out of area. They didn't complete their application 100%, thoroughly. They didn't meet the standards of what a public benefit is. Like for one grant, they wanted to give gifts and certificates to graduates. And that's not the purpose of a grant. It has to benefit the whole community and be a public benefit for an MPG grant. And that isn't a public benefit. For
Who
them.
wanted to do that?
The grid program.
Right, okay.
at Toberman.
Okay.
And then also we had a couple of applications that came late and I had to tell them no. One of them was from Gail because she was under the impression that it was extended based on a conversation she had with you. The deadline was later than what it was, and it wasn't, it had already gone past. So she was confused. Another
No,
one,
the conversation that we had was that she should consider in the future.
Yeah.
And
I think she got the dates mixed up.
she probably did, but I mean, I was encouraging her to
Yeah.
consider it for the future.
So the other one was marine mammal, and they sent us one, but it was like way after, and she was insisting that March 3rd was our cutoff date. And it's not. She confused our dates with Central. And then when she realized that they're she confused them, then she wanted us to make an exception for her. And we went back and forth, and I said, no, we can't. If I would make an exception for you, I would have to open it up to everybody else again. It has to be fair and transparent, this whole process. And I said, Coastals is open still, and you still have a couple of days for Central. I suggest you apply for those and then keep your eyes open for next year for our grants again, the next fiscal year. I said, it's posted and it's public. And she was like, oh, okay, thanks. But I felt bad, but we can't do that. We can't make exceptions because somebody was late.
no, that's all good. That's good. All right. Anything
So
else?
I will have that list for you, Vic, and send it over to you.
Okay,
Okay,
do it quick.
I will.
Community impact statement for the dog park. Okay. Anything? Hearing nothing?
Not specifically on that, but there are a couple more that John Barbera said are supposed to be coming out of community issues,
Okay.
but I haven't received anything yet. So, same as with Melanie, if I don't get the words, it doesn't go on the agenda.
That's right. Okay, and Park Advisory Board. Do we have anyone that might be interested in doing this? I know you Gwen,
Yeah, and everybody
Greg,
that was interested has applied.
I think Angela.
and Angela, and they have applied?
Yeah, I think everybody's applied.
Okay, good. All right. All right.
But Michael gave some indication that they're like, now there's some delay in doing it, and I don't know. And that they'll let us know when they are ready to review applications.
Okay.
So does that one need to go on the agenda or not?
Okay, this is just my feeling. Sometimes in a bureaucratic system, there are very strategic decisions that are made to address and to help move things forward at the speed that's most comfortable for that bureaucratic agency. So I think we should be prepared with our choice. Did my point get across? In other words, yes, we should have our person ready to go.
Okay.
Right, but are we, with the rules that I've heard, they have to approve? What if we say one person and they say another person? Do we need to have this on the agenda to actually appoint someone? Or is it going to be more of an update saying, okay, all 4 people have applied?
No, this is what I'm thinking. Given the question that we had last month, where an individual indicated that, well, whoever applies, and if any of them get approved from our neighborhood council, that's the person that will that's the person who will represent the neighborhood council. No, because then that makes it the choice of the park. not the choice of our neighborhood council. So we have 4 people interested. The 4 people can compete in the Hunger Games to see who's going to win. And, may the best person win, whoever that might be. But the thing is that we choose who's going to represent our neighborhood council, not by virtue of who applies and who passes their vetting.
So the intent is to come out of the board meeting on the 13th with an appointee.
Yes, when the group
Okay.
starts, and that appointee will apply as representing the neighborhood council, and I don't know what that'll do for that person's chances. However, just so that I'm transparent, when I speak to Pacific Region about the money they want to charge us to use it, I'm also going to bring this up. And if I get nothing from there, then I'll take it to the council member's office and see if we can get assistance there. Melanie?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna suggest, was that you take this to Leslie and Deanne and not even deal with Michael.
Oh, no, that's beyond.
But do we want to wait until after you talk to them to have this on the March agenda or the April agenda? Since there's no expedience on this, do we want to wait until you talk to them before we put this back on the agenda? Obviously, they aren't moving forward rather rapidly with the applications from the indication I got. So
Did they say why they're not moving rapidly?
there's other things that he's doing. They've got an event coming up in April and all of that.
Yeah. It is my desire to be prepared to put in place that person.
Okay.
Whenever it occurs.
Okay.
And unless, you all, have a different feeling and, we can move it forward. I just, the approach or the reason that we got originally from the park about, no, we choose, no, we don't necessarily care. That's not their word, that's my care. Those are my words. We're the ones that are going to make the determination. Well, I don't think that's fair for the community, for the neighborhood council, that they choose who from the neighborhood council, if in fact someone gets chosen from the neighborhood council to be the representative. We choose, and we should have a place at the table, no different than the CPAB that LAPD has.
Yeah, I think that makes, it seems like just common sense, it just seems like kind of best practices. Why would you not, like, if there's no functional reason to limit the number of seats or whatever, why would you just not have one reserved for an organization with our function that also uses, it seems pretty obvious. And I think maybe some pressure from above would be the way to resolve it more quickly than arguing with them directly.
That's right. That's why I choose to just take it up the line. Hey, if I don't get any place, then at least I can say I tried or we tried.
No, and I think that's a kind of the based, I was just thinking about what we said at the candidate forum and other things. It seems like now our task is to kind of take things to another level, because if we simply engage with the people who are normally tasked with engaging us, they're there as kind of a firewall. It's like we almost automatically have to leap over that first layer of bureaucracy, because we know how long it takes to get, if we go through that channel that they've established for us, we see how long it takes to get anything. And since we are starting to look at stuff like park, not the advisory board, the commissioners and things like that, it's like, well, why don't we just start there?
Yeah.
So do you want that under the motions area then?
Yeah. Why not? Okay. So we got through that. Does anyone want to bring up anything else for the agenda?
Gwen has her hand up.
Who?
Gwen.
Oh, Gwen. Hey, Gwen. How the heck are you? Okay. Gwen?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I've lost my mobile phone in Peck Park, so I'm trying to do Google, find my phone. So, but did Thomas make it to the meeting and
did.
discuss?
He's here, and we had gone through the agenda, and we were kind of looking for anything else we need to look at or consider for the agenda. So Thomas has indicated that he wanted to say something about that.
Okay,
And then also Melanie.
When I was gonna wait until the stuff that's on the agenda, Thomas and I already talked about it.
okay,
And
thank you. Thank you. I just, I didn't know where you were because I'm late to the game here. So I'll mute again. Thank you.
So Thomas, Melanie, who would like to speak on this issue?
I'll start. Phillips 66. So they had an event this last weekend as we talked, and I talked to the person that's going to be taking over Ken Domi. Ken Domi has, I guess, been out since July, and he's had a surgery that he didn't do well with, and he hasn't come back, and so it's become to the point where he's going out permanently. And so this other woman, Juliana, is taking over for him. And so I called and talked to her, and basically what she said to me was, this thing started Saturday, where it shut down completely Saturday, and the H2S levels were really high Saturday, really high Sunday. And then she said they weren't as bad Tuesday, Wednesday, as they were the weekend, Monday, Tuesday, I guess. Wednesday, though, all these days, the flames have been flaring like really high, especially Monday and Tuesday, where they were really red flames, really bad. And then on Wednesday, it started doing this loud, like boom, 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 and it was vibrating like the house and vibrating over the top of the house. And it felt like an earthquake. And the other thing was, there was this odor that people had been smelling almost like fuel. And it made me sick. And I thought that's part of what I had. And they said that's probably what made me worse at the doctor when I went, and said that I've got some sort of toxic thing on top of, I've developed like an RSV type thing. And Ted's really bad. He had to go back today and has like an toxic, like respiratory tract bad, and they're treating him like he has like really bad, like irritation infection type thing. It's bad. So there's other people in the community that have had issues too. Chuck Hart is one of them. He smelled fuel really bad, and they were in the neighborhood. They were going around checking for gas leaks and stuff because they smelled fuel. So basically, we need to have some sort of, I called AQMD, filed a complaint. They told me, and see, the whole like fence line wasn't reporting too. And I told that to Juliana, and she goes, oh, it's working fine. And I go, no, it isn't. AQMD said that it's not either. Oh, well, yeah. So AQMD said that they had not been out. So they were supposed to go out when I called them and filed the complaint, and I have heard nothing back from them. And Gwen called and filed a complaint too.
So just to kind of, we don't need to argue the point. We just want to make sure there's perfect, there's validation to put it on the agenda. So from what I understand is that there's also a call out system that's supposed to occur, and that hasn't been in place. I got that.
It's basically an alert system.
Right.
It sends email alerts to you, and I'm on that list, but I didn't get that emails at all of any shutdown of nothing. Nothing went out to say that it was shut down, that there was a problem, nothing. She indicated to me that the public agencies they report to, they sent a notification out Saturday, Sunday to those agencies. And I'm like thinking, I told her, I says, but we're one of those agencies. You should be notifying the neighborhood council. And she goes, oh, you aren't on our list. And I said, yes, but we've had this conversation with Ken. It's better that we partner together with you and be a partner and get in front of these things before they end up, you know, the stakeholders having pitchforks because they don't know what's going on. And I said, and we, it's better for us to be partners with you to get in front of this initially when it happens, to let people know what's going on.
So let me just jump in here and say that I had offered to Gwen, when I was talking to Gwen, not too long after I spoke to you. In fact, I think it was like the same day or something, Melanie. And I had indicated that there would be I would take the opportunity to go speak to them directly to see about this. I do see that there's value in, you know, talking about this publicly, but I also kind of feel that there is I don't want to call them out publicly so that
Right.
there is contention.
Right.
Just
we don't want-
education and collaboration. So I want to try that first,
There
but
is
I'm also
a
thinking that perhaps,
advisory board too. There's a advisory board that Ken has me on the email for, that I keep getting emails for that. I'm wondering if that's something we should attend.
now tell me, what's the advisory board?
It's like they have an advisory board, a community advisory board thing where they meet like once a quarter. And
I'm
I-
on that.
Huh?
I am on that and I attend.
Oh, you do attend? Because
Yeah.
they keep sending me emails for it. And I haven't gone yet.
I go, I attend, and I do ask the hard question, you know, when appropriate. So yes, I do attend and I do go. But they are a quarter, every quarter. So with that said, I'm even considering, if you think it might be appropriate, to get them to come out and kind of talk about what happened on that day.
That would be a good idea.
So as I told Gwen, I asked Gwen to give me any and all documentation about any communication with Phillips 66, so I can take it with me and have this conversation and see if we cannot get them to talk to us, be a bit more open about their communication with us and so on. And give them a first crack at developing that partnership. And if that doesn't happen and we document it, then we take it to another level.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, since they have
we
somebody
already
whose
have
job
that.
essentially it is to talk to us, you know, give them a chance to do that and, you know.
We already
let them
did
have the
this
first-
with Ken, though, is the thing. We already did this. We had that meeting. Remember, we had the agreement with him.
But here's the thing that they're going to use. Ken is no longer there.
Yeah, I know. And so the agreement was with Ken and not with.
Right. Yeah. I see Thomas's hand up. Thomas?
You know, given the severity with, you know, how this has affected folks, and, you know, I would say there's some urgency. This has happened a week ago, you know, in terms of advocating for the community. Even though Ken's not there and there's these areas, you know, things they could look at, the spirit of that seems wrong. You know, the spirit of not wanting to engage with community leaders is troublesome. So, you know, I would encourage as a leader, it's okay to get your facts together and okay to, you know, work and try to work with them. But, you know, I think there's a balance where we might try to find some other things we can, you know, share we're doing to speed things up, because I do think time is of the essence, and then we should be monitoring the reactions, right? So I would love by our next meeting to have a sense of all the branches, you know, we've thrown out, or all the attempts to engage, and what the responses are, because I only know secondhand from folks, you know, probably some things that, you know, I didn't hear even directly from you, Melanie, that do cause me to be concerned that everybody's working in the community's best interest. So let's just try to unpack what that is. And I don't know how much time you have as President Ray, but however we might want to work together in this to come up with a game plan, come up with the questions, try to get accountability, and then try to push things, within a month cycle, right? Versus it losing some of the, the momentum of the folks who are calling in, going to the hospital. It's not like the horrible shooting that occurred in San Pedro, a day or two ago, but it still could have a very large impact. So that's kind of what I wanted to say. I know I spoke to Gwen for about an hour over the weekend, and I'm glad to see you, Melanie. I'm happy to talk to anyone else, seeing as chair of one of the committees that I would hope would have been contacted when an environmental, issue occurred, and not doing so. I don't think I'm doing well by my committee either. Thank you.
So I'll go back to what I said. I want to make sure that there is a clear understanding as just what's going on with the neighborhood council with the person who is probably not aware. Now, Juliana is more of a newer person to this than Ken was. So, she could say that I didn't know, or I'm not aware, or whatever, and I want to make her aware so that we can continue whatever agreement we had with Ken. But I understand that there was some type of communication with Phillips 66 that they did put either you or someone else, in that call out list.
Right, I was supposed to be his point of contact.
And I will insist that happened. But under the circumstances, I'm thinking that perhaps because we have, a sustainability and committee, that perhaps maybe this falls under their area too, so that there is a clear understanding that this is
Right.
we need to be very much on top of this. They hold them accountable, and that's why I want to make sure that we connect with them, given whatever we have in agreement with them, bring it to their attention, give them the opportunity to correct, and if there's a hesitation or there's no correction, then we use that next thing that we have, and that's hold them, to public scrutiny.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not I would love for them to come out and explain exactly what happened that Saturday at our neighborhood council.
And I think it's a good idea just to have that next that escalation kind of chambered up and ready to go, because again, I think the people we talk to regularly they're getting conditioned to how much they need to talk to us before we'll lose interest or whatever. And
that's why I was hoping that I'd get some kind of any kind of correspondence or documentation by this time, so I can set an appointment with these guys.
So Ray, I think what Thomas is saying though is this needs to have them come out like yesterday and not wait.
Okay, I'm asking them to come out to our next meeting.
So
How
this
much
meeting
quicker
in
do you want
March.
this to happen?
Well, in March, right? And I think
That's what I would request, but I want to have something in my hand, so when I approach them, that this is what we agreed upon and this is not what's happening.
Yeah, so I'll speak, I do think environmental sustainability should be involved. I think public safety, if I picked one, it'd be public safety. I think the emergency stuff should go to Melanie first, right? Because that's within the immediate safety. And then longer term, how I want to engage environmental sustainability is, let's look, longer term, let's try to mitigate and prevent these things from happening. So I'm definitely willing to be involved. I didn't speak to anyone, so I have nothing to share with you, Ray, to help prepare. Other than wanting to be here and letting you know that I do think it's important that we bring it up when we prepare you, so tomorrow you can make a request for them to address what happened, and other things. We could talk for a long time about this, and I'll give the environmental sustainability half of the committee a lot of work for actions. I think it will probably can take a lot of time, so we'll have more for you at that point. But I would defer. I think some others did have conversations, so I'd hope they could write things up too, so you're well prepared. I can understand you're wanting to know exactly what happened before you go into a meeting and get asked questions you can't answer.
So when can I get stuff from either you, Melanie, or Gwen, so that I can make the
So-
approach?
Basically, what I can give you is past communication with Ken.
That's fine. That's perfect.
I
Because
can
that,
give you a written detail of what the conversation was with Juliana. But
and that would
nothing's
be
in
fine
writing-
too.
Nothing's in writing from her. It was all conversation on the phone.
And if it's with Ken and we have documentation, that's what I would bring to them. This is your commitment with one of your employees. Our expectation is that you continue to honor that commitment. Just because you've got someone new doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to start all over again. So whatever you have, get it to me so I can approach them with it.
Okay.
Now, if I had the feeling that I was going to get it by tomorrow at the end of business, then I will take it for face value that I will make the appointment tomorrow. Or what I'll do is I'll start making my inquiries tomorrow with them.
Yeah.
But I got to make sure that I'm going to get that stuff, because I don't want to go in there, with empty hands and pockets.
I just have to do a deep dive on the Ken's emails. And the thing is, though, part of the commitment that we got from him was verbally at the board meeting. So that could be a problem too, because he was at our board meeting when we were having problems with Phyllis before, remember? And we brought him into the board and we said to him, you need to be in contact with us when everything goes wrong. And, you need to have, we're willing to work with you, but we need to have this commitment from you. And then that's when he said, okay, who's my point person? And then it was me.
Mhm. It's all, I remember. It's just a matter of, can we get that stuff so that we can make the approach and
Right.
and reinforce
my-
our argument.
My concern is whether or not it is an email, if it was just verbally at the board meeting. And that was what?
Do
Over a
you
year
remember, do you
ago?
have a recollection as to when this happened?
It was a year or two ago, wasn't it, Chris? Remember when he got pulled into the board meeting? It was last year, I think.
Last year being in 2021 while we were on COVID?
Yeah, it was on virtual.
Chris, you're.
Let's say feels like it was more than 12 months ago, I think.
Yeah, maybe 2. But it was during COVID.
Do you have that telephone number? Is there a telephone number where people are able to call in and get updates on events?
There's a telephone number that you call in to that basically is a community number where you can call if there's something happening or report if you're seeing something.
And what is the expectation when you call that number?
You have to leave a message generally with that number.
And then there's an expectation that you're going to get a call back at a reasonable time or sometime in the
Generally a
future?
call back, or that you get some follow-up from it that they've taken action on it. But I generally didn't use that number because I contacted Ken and said, Ken, what's going on? This is going on. We see flares all over. Can you give me a report as to what happened? What's
Yeah.
going on? And he would respond to me generally right away,
Right.
even late at night, saying, oh, we had a shutdown, da, da, da. And I would get a letter of statement from him as to what happened, and I would publicize that.
Right, okay,
But that's not happening.
okay. So what I'm gonna do with all of your permission, I will initiate a phone call to Juliana tomorrow. Now I have and I will see if I could have a conversation with someone at some point tomorrow, giving you guys some time to pull up any documentation that you might have. With the outcome of A, I want to talk to them face to face. B, I want to be able to talk to them or invite them to our next neighborhood council meeting next Monday, so that they might be able to help us understand what the event was and what it was all about. But I would probably suggest, whatever reporting that was done to AQMD, maybe we want to have AQMD come out in the future.
That would be a good idea too.
I see Gwen's hand up. Gwen?
Hi, so sorry, I keep getting kicked out. Currently the thought is to have Phillips 66 exclusively at this meeting, as opposed to also AQMD, because we still have a question and need an update from AQMD as to the status of their air monitors throughout the communities. The ones that are supposed to be that were on contract and have been supposed to be working for 10 years now and have not. The Pat and I were at the last Clean Air Action Plan update. The South Coast AQMD was there. That is when they said that there was a failure of the air monitors, and they were in the process of trying to seek out a new contract with a new contractor. And we have heard nothing since. And that was well last year, and initiated a lot of activity within the Port and Sustainability Committee, which we're probably going to continue with, but and proceed with. But the one air monitor that could have benefited this particular situation is the one that is at Berrywood, where Sandalwood, is that right, Melanie, where the curve is? Over at MST Science Center, or Christensen Science Center. Thank you, Victor. And it's right there. There's a big, huge panel. It's a very clean unit. And it sits right next to Lou Martisich, and it has not worked this entire time. And one of the aspects is that there is no working Wi-Fi on the site. And that is true at some of the other school sites.
Also,
That's correct.
So, okay. The
So-
Clean Air Action Plan is a effort through the Port of Los Angeles. Yes?
And Long Beach, yeah, they kind of,
And Long Beach, but it's a port issue, right?
basically, yeah, but it encompasses, I think, efforts. It's like, because of all the related industries and businesses in the harbor area, it's sort of like not just necessarily on port property, but yeah, they kind of.
it
lead the
encompasses
charge.
all the agencies though, doesn't it, to pull
But
it
it's not an agreement that's coming from Phillips 66 and
I don't think that they're not, they may
Phillips-
be.
they're not signatories on this agreement.
Right, I think but because they're on their own, like they're not a port tenant, so.
Right, so I don't want to conflate the port agreements with Phillips 66, because this is a Phillips 66 incident. I'm not saying that we don't consider it as a whole at some point, but what I'm saying is that we are specifically talking about an incident that occurred at Phillips 66. The Clean Air Action Plan, I know I've heard Gwen mention it before, but that's a port thing.
The Clean Air Action Plan is a port thing, but the South Coast AQMD is their own entity.
Gwen, as I said before, I understand that.
Why? I'm
but we-
really not sure. I'm really not sure. The commitment for those air monitors is for the health of Southern California and the harbor. The South Coast AQMD participates in the Clean Air Action Plan because those air monitors do support the port, but it also supports the other industries in the area. The number one objective of
Are the other entities signed on to this plan?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Who are the signatories on this Clean Air Action Plan?
I will have to get back to you on the signatories, but it is a port related thing. The South Coast AQMD participates in it, and they were giving an update because they have their air monitors are all through Newport Beach, Huntington Beach, and a lot of other places. I'm really not sure.
I understand that, Gwen.
I'm okay. I'm only telling you that this is an update that happened to be at the Clean Air Action Plan. You can get that information. It was something that was, they were invited to speak at the Clean Air Action Plan, but their own entity. They could conceivably give this information in some other venue, but it just so happened that it was at the Clean Air Action Plan. I really am not entirely sure why. Are you trying to clarify that the South Coast AQMD air monitors are only for the port? Is that what the point is?
But I have heard you mention in this argument about what's happening at Phillips 66, you've mentioned the Clean Air Action Plan numerous times.
I'm mentioning I'm not mentioning the Clean Air Action Plan. I'm mentioning that the South Coast AQMD spoke there. It is their business and their affair. The South Coast AQMD update happened to be there, but the South.
What I'm going to do, and what I'm suggesting that we do, is that we are concerned about what happened at Phillips 66, and when we ask the question about the incident to, and include the questions to AQMD, what's their responsibility in incidents that occur from these refineries? If they include their explanation about the stuff that they have agreed with the port, that's fine. But I want to address specifically the incident at the refineries.
Okay, these are the two aspects that they could possibly provide this upcoming Monday. They will not be able to talk about the blow by blow of when they went to there necessarily, or any of their report, because what happens is that the port that Phillips 66 is the main entity that creates and files the report. The South Coast AQMD is there, and they respond to calls, and they respond to alerts that come off of those air monitors around the Phillips 66 perimeter.
Okay. And
now,
that's what I like, I think that's the appropriate thing. I don't want to cut you off, but I just want to make sure that, we're getting at the source of the main concern, and that was the incident at Phillips 66.
Yes. But it would be good to also ask the AQMD at this juncture the status of their air monitoring system, which has been responsible for ensuring that all sensitive sites are read, because this was part of a legal, it's their responsibility, it's their due diligence.
I understand.
So this has been a sore point. It has been negligence at this point. It's very frustrating. There are many organizations that, including Keck USC Medical, that has pointed this out since as long as I've been here. One of the first meetings that I ever went to was the Clean Air Action Plan meeting over at the Port of Los Angeles. And when Eric Garcetti came in, and both commissions were there, and Keck USC, Andrea Rico from Keck USC, made a very distinct point about air monitoring systems from everyone. And at this last meeting, she was very pointedly discussing the South Coast AQMD monitors, that they are failed, and these are requirements. These are requirements. So if there's no data, that's a failure of those entities from doing their job.
Okay. I'll go back to the fact that we have an incident at Phillips 66. We asked them, Phillips 66, about what happened. And then we asked the same questions with with AQMD. What is it that you guys read or monitored or whatever? And if there's supposed to be a monitoring system by AQMD and they don't have anything to monitor, then it seems like we have another problem.
Well, that's the point, is that at the time, and this is one of the reports, is that the air monitoring system all the way around the perimeter did not have any readings at the time of that gas release that was reported by people up and down Gaffey, both at Westmont and at Capitol. And in that bowl where those heavy gases are. Now, the South Coast AQMD, sorry, I'm trying to make it quiet. I can't.
Call from Noel Britton.
Of course not.
Call from Noel Britton.
So,
Call from
where was
Noel
I?
Britton.
We can ask them what their response is, or how they respond. They will not be able to talk about the particulars of a day by day, because they are limited to the information that Phillips 66 provides. They cannot make opinions. They cannot do anything. They can't say when they went out there, but they can say that readings were taken at such and such a time or not. And what happened is that there were no readings taken at the time of that release on Wednesday between, it was 8 o'clock and 8:45, when people smelled all sorts of chemicals and sulfur and have been impacted by it. And they are in that area where those kind of gases sink. Now, AQMD has a responsibility. When I filed my report based on the timing of this, they also have video on all of the flare stacks, and so they may be able to detect if there's black smoke, opaque smoke, colored smoke of any kind, if the flares are properly flared. Yeah.
I appreciate all the information you're trying to share, but I think what we're trying to do is, what are we going to agendize for this coming Monday? We're going to try to get Phillips
66.
talk to
Yeah.
him, but I see the importance of getting AQMD, but it seems like the AQMD thing is another issue that may take quite a bit of time to air, and perhaps maybe would that not be kind of a good subject matter for the sustainability and environmental thing?
Well, they would be able to, at this juncture, tell what their response is, what their responsibilities are, that how they go about their business, and what they respond to. They won't be able to tell us the details of the response, but they will be able to tell us what their responsibilities are and what they do. That they can do. I would like them to educate people on how they work and respond to long-term issues like this, because they actually are on site, and they restrict the process of how Phillips 66 can fire up the entirely shut down refinery. There's a process, so
Melanie,
they'll be able to give education on this.
Melanie, your hand is up.
Yeah, I think we need to address the Phillips 66 thing and have them come and explain the event to us at this meeting. Then in April, turn around and have AQMD at our meeting, at that meeting, and have them come separately. Because this is going to spiral into a long meeting at the March meeting if we have Phillips and AQMD at the same meeting. We need to have them separate. AQMD probably doesn't want to be at the same meeting with Phillips, so they can openly talk about the incident at the following meeting in April. But in the meantime, maybe to lay out the groundwork for it, maybe Thomas and Gwen can have AQMD come to sustainability meeting and kind of lay the groundwork for them to come in April at our board meeting.
That's that is, I appreciate that.
And that sounds in line with kind of my recommendation, right? There's the urgent and then there's the longer term, and
Yeah.
this is a big issue and it kind of raises some issues we've worked on, as Gwen and I discussed. You know, the weekend there's, you know, the ability now to get some traction, but we have to be smart about it. Kind of need to plan, you know, in step and figure out what needs to be done this week, you know, next week at the next committee meetings and the stakeholders. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of in agreement with what I'm hearing here, and, you know, look forward to anyone, you know, providing, you know, agenda items that'll guide me too, right? If I know there's a number of people who want to talk about those things, I promise it'll be on our next agenda.
Happy to hear Vic and or Chris, any kind of comment, feelings about it?
Yeah, I do think having them there, I mean, I'm trying to kind of run scenarios in my head, and I don't think there's anything that we could do in real time with both organizations present. I think just in terms of efficiency and ability for whomever to just deliver a chunk of information and field some questions would just be simpler. I think Mel's right that it's probably, it would just take up a lot of time and energy that wouldn't necessarily get us much farther. That if we can sort of, you know, take notes on one party at a time and then combine that stuff later is probably the most efficient way to do it. And again, I don't imagine that either of them is going to do better at what we need them to do by having the other one present.
Thank you, Chris. Victor, anything you might want to?
Echo. Pretty much agree with, you know, what everybody said. I you know, in particular, I think keeping them separate is better than putting them together and having fingers pointed possibly, or that kind of thing. So, you know, and I like Thomas's description of having the urgent one first and then the longer term one next. And getting off the immediate subject and onto the actual agenda subject, where do you want it on the agenda?
I'm gonna maybe, you know, I would
Presentation, if
I
you
would
did
like
it-
to say, let's give them an opportunity to make a presentation. I know we have another presentation. But I mean, it seems like it's gonna be that, unless it, you know, we can get it out of, well, we've had it in the executive committee meeting, we might as well put it under that if that's the more appropriate place. And I think it probably is, now that I think about it.
So under the executive committee report,
Because I don't think there's gonna be time to bring it out of any other committee.
Unless it's a presentation.
Well, that's what I said before, but I think we already have a presentation scheduled.
We can have two.
but she knows that it's only going to be 10 minutes.
Okay,
You know, she said that was fine. So,
okay.
you know, taking Josh off, I was going to ask you later about should we give her 20, but if we're going to put this one in, then we would just keep it at 10. And I think we would need to let her go first, because this one could take longer than 10, frankly.
All right, I'm in total agreement. I see Gwen's hand up. I don't want to cut you.
So are we
Yeah.
are we
agree.
gonna say this
Presentation?
is
Presentation.
who's gonna be the one doing the presentation?
Probably Juliana.
I
mean,
don't know.
what
We don't
organization?
know. For Phillips 66.
Okay.
And I will try to get a person to talk about it.
Okay, so, and we are taking Josh off, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Gwen, your hand?
Yeah, may I ask that, well, this event actually began on Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago.
Right.
And continued, as far as I know, it was still continuing yesterday.
Yeah, they're having problems getting it started back up.
Right. It's a process. The AQMD mentioned that each day it's a different stage. It's coming back up from complete and entire shutdown. Now, my question, so there are questions that I have as to what occurred on each day, because the power outage is not supposed to completely shut down everything. There is actually backup systems that continue to keep certain tanks refrigerated at a very low level. It's not supposed to completely shut down. The air monitor system, it would be good to know if that air monitor system was not functioning at any time during that, if the power outage affected the air monitor system. That would be beneficial for finding out what might have happened on Wednesday.
So do you and do you, Melanie, Thomas, want to kind of put your heads together to figure out some of the more critical questions to ask?
Right. I think we need to come together and get those organized before the meeting, before she comes, because we don't want to have this go on and on where you're raising your hand and raise it again and raise it again, that we need to have questions totally outlined. Have somebody ask those questions that we agreed on.
Well, I believe that we should get it to Ray ASAP so he can give the invitation. So that would be tomorrow, correct?
Well, the approach, and I'm going to be quite honest with you. I'm going to do everything I can to talk to them and get a commitment from them. But as any other industry organization, they may have to. Juliana is kind of at the foundational level of the hierarchy there. She may have to go to her bosses to get,
Right.
approval to attend, or someone else might attend. And
If it's informational and educational as to the blow by blow of what happened and what happened on Wednesday, that would be very helpful.
Right, but Ken had to get approval of what he says too.
Yeah, for any corporate entity like that, they're just
Yeah,
not going to let
correct.
somebody go and
Public
freestyle.
affairs
They're
person,
going to have
so
a.
he has to get approval of what he says.
Yeah, it's likely not going to go into any depth because they have to file a report, and that's a very extensive process. But if it's at least informational, that would be good. And to give some kind of information as to what occurred that was, on Wednesday that created alarm. But more than that, I do hope that there can be a policy change within Phillips 66. I'm not sure why they don't believe that a City of Los Angeles entity shouldn't be on a standard mail list. But this is a little bit of hearsay here. Melanie has been the direct contact in regards to how the email from the neighborhood council was removed from the larger entity informational.
Because she wasn't using Ken Dommy's email. She was just going based on what she was told the public agencies that needed to be contacted. Correct.
And why the public agency list has not been updated to reflect that is Tim McOsker on that. It would be nice. I may call his office tomorrow and find out if they received an alert. Because if Tim McOsker's office is not on there, that would be concerning too. Because these are the outreach. These are the point people to provide information to the community and stop misinformation. It would benefit Phillips 66. So if
So
maybe they
remember,
can discuss that.
if I can just remind you all, it's how you frame the question is how they're going to react or respond. So
Correct.
framing it as information, we would like some information, we like to know better,
Right.
that's going to be the important thing.
Right. And that's
Don't
what we
go in-
did want.
don't go in there with guns blazing, because we'll never see them again.
No, and it wouldn't benefit us anyway. And then the process is we have to understand that they're not going to be able to give us a lot of information other than an education on possibly what it takes to start up a refinery again. That may be the limit of it. This is a complex process, and this is how we go about it.
Well, then that would bring up another thing, and Victor, I see your hand up, but the other thing too is that keeping in mind that this particular back and forth that we're inviting them to on next Monday is going to be the ground floor of more conversations with them to make sure that they know that we want to work with them in partnership, not in
Right.
the middle of the rain.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's a whole, we have the incidents and events that, will get our attention and kind of provoke some activity, but we have to think in the diplomatic terms about a long-term, like whatever it is, if we show up just to kind of want to yell at them or ask questions that we should know that they can't necessarily answer for us or whatever, kind of stuffs the conversation down. And it also, gives them an excuse to disengage or to cancel at the last minute or whatever. And so we do need to think, like, again, in terms of being ready to escalate, in terms of giving some things that might seem a little softball, but it actually brings them to the table, the willingness to speak, as opposed to sort of, if we're going to be too aggro about it, then they will show up with I think a more minimal approach than we would like. So we want them to be more open and start talking, give them a chance to, give them enough rope or whatever, but don't start out at 10.
So I see Victor's hand up, and I'm going to ask that we'll give Victor an opportunity to say the last words here and finishing up so that we can adjourn and enjoy the rest of the evening, with all your permission. So Victor, go ahead, because I don't hear any oppositions.
Mine isn't on the direct topic itself. It's well, it sort of is, but I heard Gwen say it was a couple Saturdays back. I wanted to find out a couple things. When did it first start? And if I understood correctly, that it is still continuing and has not been resolved yet.
So if I can just ask, I think that's an excellent question, Vic, to establish a timeline that we want to be able to follow. If and hopefully we get them to the table and talk to them. And I think it would be great to be part of, whatever documentation they do. So.
Well, the reason I'm asking is I was going to put for the agenda item, I was going to say, Phillips 66 events. If it is a couple Saturdays back, that makes it February 25th to the present.
Is to the present, February 25th, and the incident of the loud booming and all that was on the 1st of March.
Well, I'm not looking for each individual date. I'm just looking for the start date. So if it's February 25th, then I'll put February 25th, or I can just leave it off and just say, Phillips 66 events and not put any time frame.
I believe that saying Saturday, February 25th is safe because we've received verbal a verbal confirmation that the power was out on Saturday at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yep.
Now, that was the verbal communication from Phillips 66.
Maybe you can
Issue-
put on or around the 25th, so
Yeah.
that you have a little.
Okay,
Right. Right.
that's easy. That's what a twiddle does. Okay.
Thank you. I've never been called a twiddle, but I appreciate it.
It's computer nerds term for the tilde,
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, tilde twiddle.
which tilde, which is another a symbol for approximately.
Gotcha.
Oh, God.
All right. With your
Yeah.
permission, I'd like to call this meeting. Gwen,
Well,
I see your hand up
if-
again. I hope we can.
If-
There, it's gone.
Sorry.
If we can quick go through what I have for the draft board agenda, just to be sure things are in the right places. Hang on a minute.
All right.
Okay.
I remember when our executive board meetings were a half hour at the most.
Well,
Oh.
that's when we didn't have stacks flaring too. Okay. So after the regular beginning, we've got the election update. And, today is the last day. And the timeline, I added the deadline for the postmark ballots that have to be received by. And then I specifically added this. If you want, I can take it off and just leave it as general, like like we usually do. But I think that might, either way works.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Okay. And then we have the two presentations. I don't know if we want to put a 10-minute time limit on Phillips 66 or not, but it's there for now.
I think it would be good, but I think we should also kind of make sure that we know that it could be longer. I have a feeling it's going to be longer.
Well, yeah, so should we just not put a time limit or?
We'll put it as a guideline, and then if it goes over, it goes over.
Okay. And then we have the two consent items right now, with possible more from Thomas and or Ben or whoever the right people are who might send me more.
Right.
And Thomas, for you, since I know you're working on that, I need to have whatever words that are going to go on no later than Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, thank you.
The sooner the better, but no later than Wednesday, because I send stuff out and post it on Thursday. Then
There's no public safety motions,
okay,
So just a report.
just a report.
Okay.
ah,
Hey, what'd you do?
my computer lagged and I hit an extra delete when I didn't need to. Okay, so we've got all these for budget, and then Melanie, same time frame for getting me the NPG words.
You'll have them tonight,
Okay.
later
And
tonight.
then for planning, we have the two that were on the agenda for tonight. We have one coming out of community issues. There should be more because they should have sent them for the last meeting, but they didn't. So they're supposed to send them to me for this meeting. And then the Peck Park Advisory Board item.
Right.
And after that, it's pretty much pretty much the same. Now,
Yeah, there'll be two.
I left this in just as kind of a placeholder in case John has any more beyond what is up above.
Okay,
CPAB's gonna have 2 reports because they're changing the CPAB dates. It's gonna be the second Wednesday of the month from now on.
Okay, but we don't need 2 bullets.
Huh?
We don't need 2 bullets on the agenda.
No.
It's still CPAP report. If the date changes, that's fine. Okay, and then that's, yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure
Chris, you weren't on, but as chair,
I missed anything.
as chair of youth and outreach, I don't know if you officially communicated. I haven't seen, and Ben Norman hasn't seen his name on the consent agenda to officially be appointed to the committees. So I don't know, maybe you saw that on there or not, but he was a little confused about that. So if it wasn't done for your committee, you might want to do it as well. That's what my action item was in reference to making sure the committee notifies Chris that he was welcomed onto the Port and Environmental Sustainability Committee.
Yeah, we canceled this month's meeting because of the candidate forum. I do not remember discussing that specifically. That is in terms of agendizing it at the meeting where we approved Ben. So I'm assuming it has to come out of youth and outreach, the motion, or can that be executive?
That's what I was just told. It has to come out of committee, right, Victor?
Right.
All right, well, then I'll have it on the agenda for April.
Okay, that's all I had. I just wanted to make sure that various items that may not have been on the executive committee agenda were on here, okay. And to let people know their deadlines for getting me whatever information they need to get me.
right. Okay,
So nobody of a certain 2 people can say, I didn't know.
do you want to highlight who those individuals might be?
Those individuals just might be Thomas for whatever words about Ben being appointed to the Port Environment and Sustainability Committee if it has gone through committee. If it hasn't, then there won't be any words. And Chris already said he's going to do that in April, so there won't be any there, but the main one's going to be Melanie and the specific line items for the NPGs.
Okay. Anything else, anyone? For the good of the cause?
Just my links, well, the reason I was late is my link is still for 6 o'clock. So are we doing 5:30 from now on?
He sent a new one out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you should have gotten a new one.
Okay, well, the old one worked, which is I went to that. All right, so
Well, yeah,
I'll
I
look
mean,
for the new one.
it's the same webinar ID, but
Oh,
if you use the invitation, the old invitation, it'll have the different time.
gotcha. All right, well, I'll look for the new one then.
All
But
right,
it is going to be 5:30 going forward because I'll just change it the calendar either way.
Yes.
Okay.
okay, guys. Have a
Alrighty,
nice evening, everyone.
Thank you.
alright. Night.
Bye now.